Total Drama, a television series by Fresh TV, which most people don't make videos on since this is one of the most copyright-crazy companies in existence, so I must be immensely careful not to break their definition of the law. So if this video gets taken down, then uh-oh. But Total Drama. Typically it airs on Cartoon Network, I think, and since I still watch all the kids and teenage shows for my sense of nostalgia, I must say, this show is frickin' hilarious and interesting. I was surprised many of you voted for me to theorize on it in the polls. It tied with Madagascar, a video that ended up doing quite well, so let's look deeper into the universe Fresh TV has created, primarily regarding the host of seasons 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 5.5, Chris McLean. In season 1 of this Survivor parodying show, Chris and his accomplice Chef Hatchet design a series of challenges for the contestants, voting one off each week. The challenges, however, grow increasingly misanthropic, and that's from the first episode, which has all of them jumping off of a 1,000-foot-high cliff into a shark-infested lake. So what's wrong with Chris McLean? Is there something we can label him with? Some brand of insanity that may explain his torturing of teenagers, allowance of nuclear waste, and destruction of an entire island? Follow me to find out. Hello, I'm the Theorizer, and if you're the kind of person who throws trigger foods into an active volcano, or the kind of person who brings a band of teenagers to an island you prior rented out to nuclear disposal, or perhaps the kind of person who encourages a fracking machine on a tiny island, ultimately causing it to completely sink, then you might have a condition called psychopathy, which is synonymous with a complete lack of empathy or remorse, entirely egotistic qualities, and most importantly, antisocial behavior, which includes the intentional harm and sadistic torment to people and animals around you. Chris McLean is, without a shred of doubt, a legitimate psychopath. But a psychopath who understands the flow of his show and how to boost his ratings through the physical injuring of underage individuals. He forces them to return each season because they've locked themselves into a contract of endless torture. Hell, he even spied on them all once so that he could tailor a specific torture to each and every contestant's phobia. In season 1, alongside the cliff jumping, there were such fun camp activities as swinging over top of electric eels, or Chef Hatchet's deadly boot camp, or skydiving onto a death trap designed as a couch, or eating horrendous food, or, my personal favorite, going through several rounds of torture for 10 seconds each, as Chris stands there and laughs maniacally. Or perhaps enduring the trauma of evading a psycho killer that isn't Chris himself? That's just season 1, and if you didn't believe that this was too bad, then let me give you a little refresher of what came after. In the sequel season to Total Drama Island, known as Total Drama Action, Chris made the kids get hunted down by an alien and a monster, and even worse, both were Chef Hatchet. He made them land on a horse by jumping off of a diving board. He made them run through a death trap where massive objects are fired at subsonic speeds toward their heads. He made them walk across a power line while being slammed with obstacles. He made them go into a vomit machine and finally go through all of it again in the finale. But that's all nothing in comparison to what he did in Season 3, Total Drama World Tour. What he does next, it's beyond antisocial personality disorder. This is absolutely hellish. He made them face off against flesh-eating scarabs, jump over frigid waters, climb the Statue of Liberty and go back down it via a fire pole, race through a sewer, slide on meat down the side of a sharp mountain, race through the dangerous Amazon, ride on a self-dismantling racetrack, infiltrate Area 51, walk across Niagara Falls on a tightrope while carrying your partner, capture a feral ex-contestant, evade a gigantic condor, and finally, of course, survive the explosion of an entire Hawaiian island. So because that wasn't enough for him, he returned to the original island, now infested with nuclear radiation. He made them embarrass themselves for entertainment, go on a scavenger hunt through a mutated forest, go on a scavenger hunt through a mutated mine, cause an actual contestant to get mutated to a shocking extent, build a flying machine and send thousands of feet into the air with little to no actual flight support, steal a small flower from a massive mutated Venus flytrap, and finally, a fight to the actual death between two people. This all got him locked in prison, especially for the mutated waste, and when he was let out, he wanted revenge. In prison, he was driven insane by the inability to torture teenagers, so he recreated it in his mind, like the blatant psychopath he is. So he brought everyone back when he was let out and discussed how he was psychologically evaluated, and they told him that he needed to be around those he loved, to hurt. He was very blunt about it. By the way, every challenge this season has booby traps littered throughout them. So, he made them complete more obstacle courses, one where they had to avoid vomiting. He made them go out into the blue harvest moonlight, essentially giving them fresh hell, forcing them into a containment center for all of the mutated animals on Boney Island, no less, fight a boxing match with your greatest phobia, allow the malevolent one to torture everyone in camp, and then he expected them all to find him and rescue him from the evil Ezekiel, whose feral nature was leading to the near death of Chris. Then they had to race through yet another obstacle course and finally cross the moats of doom. They had to pass acid, lava, and shark-infested waters, as well as avoiding obstacles, each other, and Chef Hatchet's spaghetti gun or whatever. This event caused the island to sink, causing him to build a new island, one that he had complete mechanical control over. Here they had to avoid Chef's projectiles, embarrass yourself or be electrocuted, avoid obstacles while you carry real live babies through it. Oh geez, that one's crazy. Then they had to ingest expired gross drinks, inducing food poisoning, stop a supervillain from destroying the island, and finally race around an entire island that is attacking you. So I'm sure you've found by now that he's most certainly a psychopath. There is no doubt. You should have already known this, though. So what about Chef? Chef has a conscience, and sometimes says, "Hey, those are kids we're doing this to."
So you made it less dangerous?
No, but we told them we did. High five!
People gonna die.
Yeah, those people.
Chef is more of a near psychopath, more like a sociopath, but why are they like this? Well, Chris McLean is a television host who has gotten progressively more sinister and wicked as the show has progressed. Hosting the show has, without a shred of doubt, increased what was already in his mind. He's hosted other shows prior to Total Drama and has starred on other things before. His egotism has existed for as long as he's been famous. What's most interesting is that not only does he host the show, but he directs it, creates the challenges, pretty much all of it. The network who airs the show always has lawyers getting onto him, but he persists with the insanity. He's developed a cognitive reaction that gives him pleasure upon getting good ratings, in which dopamine is likely released in his brain, and it's pushed him to the point of doing whatever he must to sustain that high. According to him, that sustainability is achieved by tormenting the underaged. What the hell kind of sadists would actually watch a reality show like this? Oh, well, I guess we do, but that's obviously not what I mean. And while Chris is nuts, Chef, on the other hand, he hasn't been neurologically altered by a television show. Chef Hatchet is an explicitly crazy commando-esque sociopath. He loves to watch the privileged kids suffer through a thing or two, but he doesn't want them to be severely traumatized. He has restraint, and he occasionally holds Chris back as well. But Chris doesn't have natural restraint. He's a delusional pawn to the media. It's almost like he has literally become his hosting character on the show, and his brain has reconstructed itself to positively react to sadism. Chris's incredibly egotistical nature, paired with his relatively newfound misanthropy, are what lead me to believe that Chef Hatchet is in fact Chris's keeper, or caretaker of sorts, perhaps, but not quite. Like an unofficial parole officer to keep him in line, though not in a harsh sort of way. If Chef were to instantly try putting a harsh and abrupt end to McLean's antics, that could be psychologically catastrophic to Chris's reconstructed mentality. Chef would need to be just as crazy as Chris in order to maintain order but restraint inside of his head. I've always wondered the purpose of such a random co-host, the kind of co-host who ended up letting Chris out of jail in Season 5. What qualification would Chef have to be McLean's prison consultant? And in Season 2, Chef gets very upset because Chris treated him poorly. This manipulation is the only way to keep Chris from complete apathy. If not for Chef, it's likely that Chris would have no friends and would become a depraved, fame-starved serpent. But because of Chef, Chris has interns who, believe it or not, Chris actually sort of cares about. Chef is Chris's tether to reality, and without him to bring suggestion, Chris would lose his mind like he did in prison, and like he did upon his return in Season 5, going so far as to approving a structure that sunk Camp Wawanakwa, and holding back from attempting to kill pretty much everyone. So it's interesting, to say the very least. We know he's a psychopath, and we know that it was induced by fame, but we don't exactly know how Chef fits into all this. I gave my take. I think Chef is the slightly less insane friend that has the ability to neutralize Chris's psychopathy without going too far or too little. What do you think? How do you think Chef fits into all of this? If you have ideas, I'd love it if you shared them. This theory of mine, like some of my other theories, is one that has very little evidence, and it isn't my best work yet. This is the product of deductive reasoning as opposed to the inductive reasoning I usually work with, so like we are doing with the Fairly Odd Parents video, put forth your ideas. We now have an interesting concept on our hands. You know what's funny? As I'm writing this, I'm reading an article about Chris's voice actor, and he talks about how Chris has a reason as to why he's so insane and misanthropic. It has yet to be revealed. So, apparently, I am onto something. Aha! Maybe it'll be revealed in that upcoming Total Drama Daycare show? It does have Chef Hatchet as a part of the main cast. We'll see. Until next time, I'm the Theorizer.